Good afternoon. I just want to do a quick update for what's going to happen tomorrow. And so if you guys can see this, please let me know. I'm under the weather, trying to keep it all together. And we got some things that we got to talk about. And the way things are shaping up, it's not necessarily a good thing for us as gun owners. And so I want to talk about, what it looks like and what we can expect to tomorrow. And so let me get this shared and we'll get kind of going. And so I hope you guys are having a good weekend. We don't have, there's kind of this time of year for me, there's really no time off, right? So we have to stay engaged because what they're trying to do is just pull the wolf over or make it harder for us to be engaged civically. And so that's something that we have to be aware of and make sure that we are part of this process. So thanks for tuning in. And so let's kind of talk about what this looks like for tomorrow. So we have a public hearing scheduled for tomorrow at 3 p.m. I'll provide all the details as I have everything kind of secured. Hey, Drew, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. And so the way this thing is going is not the way it's supposed to work. Okay. So typically, this is a short session. So you have a limited amount of time and there's protocols and there's things that these things are supposed to maneuver and move through the process. And so tomorrow's the first day of the actual legislative session. It's a short session. And so House Bill 4145, which is basically Measure 114 2.0, is supposedly supposed to be, and this is the way it's supposed to work, is supposed to be scheduled for its first reading. Okay, so this is the way this works: is you're going to get first, second, and third readings typically on the House side, and then it goes over to the Senate side. It goes through the same process over there. Okay, so what they did, which I think is kind of dirty for all of us as Oregon gun owners, is they're getting the first reading tomorrow, but the thing is already scheduled for a public hearing at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, that's super dirty. It's a way to disenfranchise all of us because it's such short notice. It doesn't give us time to be there to make our voices be heard to effectively stop this stuff. Okay, so they are trying to move the ball so fast and kind of changing the rules as they go, as a way to just keep us out of the fight. Okay. And so we have to know that this is what they're going to do. So this is what we're going to do. Okay. So, I have kind of a call to action out for people that, live in the Salem area. If there's people that can join us at the Capitol tomorrow to just have a presence, be there in the room. It starts at 3 p.m. I'll get the room number and everything like that. It would be good because it makes it looks like we're checked in and we're part of this process. Okay. They're hoping that if they do these things last minute or don't give us enough information, that, basically they can keep us out of this fight. And that's what they're trying to do. Okay. One thing that's really, really dirty is they've made it so we can't submit testimony yet. Okay. Written testimony. Okay. So the way this is going to work, we should already be able to start submitting written testimony, right? That's going to be part of the record. We should already be doing that. There's no option for us to do that. And basically what's going to happen is once we have the public hearing, then we're going to have 48 hours to submit this written testimony. So this is totally abnormal. This is not the way this should be going. We should have the ability to be submitting testimony right now to be a part of this record. So that way, when they go into the public hearing, they should have a list of everybody that's in opposition. Okay. They don't have that right now. So they only have part of the conversation. And so they can say, oh, maybe it's a technical glitch. I don't buy it. I think all of this is a way to keep you guys out of this fight. And so that's where I want you guys to be aware that there's people up there that are doing the work on your behalf. I'm going to be up there. We have a contract lobbyist that's up there. We also have, Tony Allo, our attorney, is going to be up there. We have a big meeting tomorrow at 7:30 a.m., which I do not want to be in the Capitol at 7:30 a.m. Believe me. Okay. Last thing I want to do, but it's my only opportunity to meet with somebody in the Judiciary Committee to maybe buy us some time. All I'm trying to do is get another day or 2 days. If I can get this kind of punted to a different date, that's going to buy us time. So we should have more of our voices be heard, when it's time, when we have because we're going to have 48 hours from this public hearing to be able to weigh in with public testimony or submitted testimony. I mean, I'm hoping we do 2,500 or 3,000 pieces of testimony in opposition to House Bill 4145. And so, that's kind of where I'm at, is we're going to have to move quickly. We're going to have to work together, just so we're able to kind of stop this stuff. And so, I want to get it to you on a Sunday so you guys can kind of prepare. The last thing we want to do is miss work on a Monday. But it's something that, and this is the first day of the session, okay? And the way we have to look at this is, for House Bill 4145 to get to the governor's desk, they have a short window that they have to be able to move this bill. And it could be, they could have a week or two just to get this out of the House chamber onto the Senate side. And so, that's where, us working together, whatever we can do to tie it up, if we can get it moved to different committees, obviously it should have a fiscal impact. So a fiscal impact would automatically means it should go to Ways and Means. Okay. So that's another day. That buys us another day. So the first day public hearing is lame. They know it's unpopular. They know it's not going to do anything. This is just smoke and mirrors. And so, that's where, I'm trying to hold their feet to the fire. The meeting that we have tomorrow at 7:30, that will tell us a lot on, what their intentions are and how serious they are about passing this bill. And, kind of our message there is this is creating a perfect storm for us as Oregon gun owners. And this is what I'm going to say I signed up to testify tomorrow. So I'm going to testify in person at 3 p.m. when it's my time. But I want to talk about the fact that this is creating a perfect storm for Oregon gun owners to replace the current sitting governor. Okay. Stay with me here. And the reason I say it this way is, you are going to have a record number of people from either Democrat, non-affiliated voters, conservative, that are going to be going to the polls in November because of the gas tax. Okay. So this is something that they're not thinking about. Okay. There's going to be a record number of people that are going to be showing up because the gas tax is against the will of the people. Right. And so, as gun owners, this is where we need to, kind of piggyback that energy and say, okay, so this is a way for us to get a new governor, right? Is now we're all going to show up because we don't want a new gas tax. And now this is the opportunity for us to replace the current sitting governor. And so this is where this is my ace in the hole that I'm going to be saying tomorrow. Instead of talking about how it's unconstitutional, because we all know it's unconstitutional, I'm going to talk about, okay, this is what you guys are going to do. So how greedy, how much do you want to hold on to your power? Are you willing to, forsake your own power with a supermajority just to, pass this bad anti-gun piece of legislation? And so, I'm going to use that to my advantage. I think that's where I'm not really going to talk about the constitutionality. We all know that. I'm going to talk about how this is going to impact them. And that's going forward from now to the election. That's going to be my message. And I guarantee, we look at the original Measure 114, it was a 50-50 split. They barely got that. It was by 24,000 votes or so. So it was barely passed. Okay. That's when there was a lot of people didn't know about Measure 114. It was very confusing. They did that by design to ram this thing through. We could argue that there was people on the voter rolls because the voter rolls haven't been cleaned up. So there's fraud there. So they created this thing. And so now a couple years down the road, when they're trying to do it again, we're all paying attention. We're all watching this. We're all like the people that might not be familiar with guns are trying to buy magazines from out of the state, and they can't do that because of the quote unquote Measure 114's, hypothetically in effect, and so, that's something that we have to use, to our advantage. And I think that's kind of my move. I'm gonna say that in the meeting tomorrow, because I don't think I think they're just thinking that they can just kind of push things through and bully, and we're gonna say no, it's not gonna work that way, because we the people are gonna say no and no more. And so hopefully we can get them to kind of understand that and get them to back off. So I'm going to kind of look at the comments here. So, submit written testimony. Okay. So that is a great question. So typically there should be a link. I just tried the link again just before I went on here, just because I want to make sure that it's still not working. There's no way for us to submit written testimony as of right now. That is a problem. Okay. And that's the first thing I'm going to address tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. when I have this meeting is why is that? And I expect the person that we are meeting with in the Judiciary Committee speaks with the people at OLIS to figure out why that link is disconnected, because that needs to be active right now, because we all should be submitting testimony in opposition to House Bill 4145, period, flat out, full stop. Okay. The fact that we are given literally this land it launched on Thursday to Monday, that we're going to have the first reading and now a public hearing, that's pretty shady. Okay. And now you're going to double that by saying now we don't have the right to have our voices be heard through the system the way it's designed to be doing. It makes me feel that, like, why even do it? Like, why don't you just go ahead and rule us? That's what they're setting themselves up with that super majority. And it's my hope that we can get them to understand what they're doing, and maybe we can get some kind of resolution there. But once that link is live, I will let you guys know. That way you guys can submit your written testimony in opposition to House Bill 4145. So I'm a little excited. I'm tired. This last thing I want to do is go up there tomorrow. It's going to be a long day up there. So if you guys can make it, if people, and let's talk about the people that can make it. Okay. I don't expect 100 people to show up, but if we can get 10 people to 20 people, that would be amazing. We're going to want to be there about 2 p.m. at the Oregon State Capitol. As soon as you go through the security screening, we'll be there. You'll see us there. There'll be hopefully it won't just be me. I'm hoping there will be more people. But the thing is we're going to get in line. We're going to wait for the doors to open, and then we're going to have our voices be heard. And so that's where, we just got to, and the other side, the red shirts are going to be there, so it's not fun. So last thing we want to do is interact with these yahoos, but it's all part of this deal, right? And so, I'm just sick of losing, and I don't want to lose anymore. And so I'm going to do what I can to help stop this stuff. The meeting at 7:30 is going to be huge for Tony and I, and so hopefully I'll keep you posted there, and you guys can kind of, I'll try to do something on from an office there where I can, stream to YouTube to kind of let people know kind of where we're at and what we learned in the meeting. I have some other reps and senators I'm going to meet with there just to kind of shore things up. And that's part of the deal I've done the past couple years up there, is I've built relationships up there in the building. And so I can get meetings, especially short notice, and I can get the lay of the land. I can get insider information, and I can get it to you people. And hopefully we can stop this stuff. That's kind of where I'm at. So Drew, I understand, man. Not everybody can make it. I get it. And part of what you can do is if you can write your testimony, and if you can write your testimony or share the message to help more people write the testimony. So there's all things that we can do in this situation. Okay. If you can't make it, you know, help with fuel, help with cost of us and the people that are going to be there, so if that's the thing, that's kind of where we're at. I think that if you guys can help support me and the people that are there, that would be huge, because that would really help. And but other than that, we're in this together, and I feel that, we've made tremendous progress the past couple years, and so we're not going to give up, and we're going to keep moving forward. I have some big meetings planned for next weekend. I'm hoping to have like an actual org set up soon, and then that's where we can, be a little bit more effective. We're really effective for like a ragtag group of patriots. We've done some great things together, and we're looking forward to doing it again. And so, they always try to count us out, but they can't count us out because our cause is righteous. And so, Drew, I really appreciate your support. That's huge. That really helps out, because the problem with me being there, it takes away from my other jobs. And so that takes away, that's where I'm thankful for your support. So absolutely, right here. Two-way all the way. That's what it's about. Okay. So without these rights that are enshrined in the Constitution, we have nothing, and so that's why I will fight, to protect my rights and yours as well. So that's kind of where we're at. No, so the way I would look at this is they will pick and choose, okay, gauge. But I guess the most resounding thing that we can do is make sure we're oppose, right? And typically, and we can look at other sessions, the people that I got fired up on Facebook and through the social media that I've been doing the past couple of years following this stuff, I mean, literally, we will outwork them 20 to 1. There's been times we've had 3,000 different pieces of opposition testimony, and they've had like 5 or 6, and that's just the way it works. So we're going to outwork them. One time, which was very effective, we had, one of our senators print out a stack of them and put them on the desk as they were doing this public hearing. And then the stack was, really, really high. And so that was a kind of a visual for them to say, hey, you guys are not listening to the will of the people. And so, that's where we just got to make sure we oppose it. That's the biggest thing we can do. So, that's kind of where I'm at. And I appreciate you guys. And so we'll keep you posted. If you guys can make it, it'd be great. Obviously stay tuned for the updates. I'll have updates throughout the morning. I'll be posting them to Facebook. I'll also be in the Oregon Firearms Advocates group, and I'll also be posting to a couple other groups just to keep everybody updated. And then I'll also be doing some stuff on YouTube as well. And I appreciate the people coming from YouTube. You guys are great, and I'm really thankful to have you guys here and be a part of this. Like, I feel like we have a good team, and we're going to do something. So let's stop this stuff. And yeah. Well, in theory, yeah, right? But they try every day, so, they don't like the Constitution because it hinders them, what they can do, and what they can get away with, and so I feel that, the Constitution for them sometimes is a speed bump instead of some guardrails, and so that's where it's our job, we have to weigh in, and so this right here, I wanna be really careful with this gauge. There is some things that we'll talk about tomorrow. I wanna have, kind of everything in place when it comes to talking about this and what this looks like before I really kind of broadcast it, just for kind of security reasons. But I will let you guys know tomorrow once we have this meeting, what their intentions are, what they're trying to do, when it comes to the Supreme Court ruling. Okay, so just kind of stand by on that one. So yes, this one right here. So you can do it online. You can call in. There's a website you can call in through OLIS. You can also do it via Zoom. And so they have a link there where you can register to testify, and you can do it online. You have to be really careful there though, because what they do is they like to do is they'll call you real quick, and if you don't have time to unmute your mic, then they'll just skip on by. So you got to be really, really fast and be paying attention, because what they'll do is it just gives them the excuse to kind of silence your voice. So that's something to be aware of with that. So, and so you can do it via the phone. You have to wait on hold, but most people would do it via Zoom. And no, that's awesome, Hayden. And we would love to have you there, right? And so make sure when you did that, you put opposition, right? Because they're going to have people that are going to support it, and they're going to be us that are going to be opposing it. And so what they'll do is they'll take turns, and so they'll group you like 3 or 4 at a time in opposition, and then they'll swap to the people that are in support, and they'll go back and forth. So that's typically how it works. So thank you for doing that. I know as you get more into this process and you figure out how this whole process works, this is going to make you more effective as an advocate. Okay. And the goal is, now you know how to navigate the system. Now you know who your rep is, who your senator is. You have conversations with them. You let them know directly how you feel about what they're trying to do up there. And so that's kind of where I'm at there. So just make sure that you do that. So right here, thank you for your support. That really does a lot, and it means a lot. So we'll keep moving, And so I appreciate your support there. And so we'll miss you tomorrow, G23. So I'm sorry you can't be there, but obviously what you can do is you can spread the message. Like we'll have posts that I'll put on Facebook or on my YouTube channel that you guys can share that would help spread the word to other people that might not know about the work that we're trying to do there. So that's a way for you to help. You're in my hood yesterday. Cool. So so this one's really, really important. So this is what I always do. Okay. I always speak from my heart, okay? So, that's the one thing they can never take from you is your heart. So, speak to the fact that, you look like you're a younger gentleman, speak how, you're law abiding, you're a patriot taxpayer, you don't want to become a criminal. You want to follow all the laws because we're law-abiding citizens. But speak from your heart. Speak how this will impact you in your civil liberties, and so that's what I would suggest is just kind of maybe put some bullet points together. I mean, sometimes I will write something, but I tend up just throwing it out. I write just so my mind can kind of start process what I want to say. And typically when I get out there, just throw it out and just speak from my heart. Sometimes I do very well, sometimes I don't do so well, and that's just part of my process. And so I can speak more later on different videos if you guys want to learn about how I kind of got into this and how what I do. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And I'd love to give you, help you find that voice so you can be more effective. So this one right here, I want you to be very, very careful with this, okay? And I know OFF is trying to do good work, but some of the stuff is not the most relevant, okay? And a lot of it is opinion based. And so it's very quick to attack our side and have us blow up our side's phone lines when in fact if we're going to blow up anybody's phone lines it should be the opposition, okay? They should be fielding these calls, they should be answering these emails. We should not be yelling at our team. That's, I mean, obviously we want our team to work for us, right? So I get that, but it is kind of counterproductive when we need people in the game that are engaged on our side. It doesn't make sense for us to tie up their resources by blowing up their phone lines. And that's typically what I see from him. And so, that's where, that's kind of where I'm at is, we all got a job to do. I know I'm in the building and I know the contacts that I have, and I know the resources and the information that I put out is to the truth and factual and to the best of my ability. And so I try to obviously give people grace, but there's things that I don't necessarily agree with when it comes to messaging. And that's where I'll leave it at that. So just be aware of that. So what's this law book? Excuse me one second. Yeah, so I think what is really important to note this is you have to understand case law, you have to understand precedent, you have to understand, already made rulings, right? We had the Bruin Heller decision. There's all these different things. And so some of the things that I talk like we talk about the Marbury is a good example. Is everybody's quick to share that meme, but that's never been argued in court, at especially at the Supreme Court level. So it's not something that is really relevant to the conversation. I know it feels good at the moment to put something out like that, but the problem is we have to look at the tradition, right? Especially when it comes to, state constitution. So just something to think about that. And case law typically is going to be the most important thing for us when we're talking about any kind of appeals, anything like that. Case law is going to be the most important thing to talk about. So, I don't want to, do you. Obviously, I'm just I don't have enough bandwidth to focus on everything, and so that's kind of where I would revert to, case law stuff that really is going to have some teeth. Um, yeah, absolutely, right there. Good for you. And so You're part of the solution, not the problem, and so I would argue that you're doing more than most other people around the co this the state that are trying to keep people safe. Like, we're talking about, gun safety, right? Is you're actually practicing, but you're getting out there, you're training, you're carrying a gun, that's like, this is a good thing for us. I would love to see them, and obviously I don't want to compromise. I'm a zero compromise kind of guy, but like, there should, like, if we have a CHL, we shouldn't have a permit to purchase. Like, House Bill 3075, they at least were smart enough to add the concealed carry part of that, where if you had a CHL, you wouldn't have to have a permit to purchase. Like, making it redundant makes no sense to me because it ties up resources and it's duplicative, and it's just not a good thing. It's not good for us as Oregonians, so, Hayden, keep that up, man. We need that. We need that young blood, right? And figure out social media, figure out how you can promote, responsible gun ownership. There's a lot of us that have channels, like G23 does stuff. There's people that, start putting out gun content, put it on your Facebook and be proud to be a gun owner. That's what I do. I'm a proud gun owner, and I'm not going to hide that fact. I'm not going, I mean, obviously we get censored, we all this thing, and it is what it is. It's horrible. But I still do it. I put it out every day. Every day at 5 p.m. there's a post that goes out promoting the work that I'm doing in the community. And it's fun. And it's a way for me to relive the fun times that I spend doing what I do. And we're able to monetize it. And so it helps, kind of pay for some costs. So it's good. But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to do is just normalize gun safety, normalize gun ownership. We're not the problem here, and so we need to be, listened to. And so, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't want to take too much of your time. I'm glad you guys kind of showed up and checked in, but tomorrow's going to be the day. It starts up tomorrow, public hearing at 3 p.m. And so I hope to see as many of you as you can. If not, please help spread the message. I'm gonna, we're gonna go in there and we're gonna hold our head up high. And no matter what happens, we're gonna be in it together, right? And so, that's kind of where I'm at. So I hope you guys, it all makes sense and you guys can be a part of it. So let's see if there's any other comments. That's awesome. Awesome. Hayden, thank you. Thank you for your support. And good. G23, good job. So that's what we got to do is we got to put out education and content, right? As much as they don't want it, and you know, thank you for your support. We're all in it together. And we'll do fine. We just got to make through this first couple days, and once we get the lay of the land and kind of know what's happening, they're going to try to ram through things. I mean, I'm focused on this House Bill 4145. I'm hoping there's no other bills. So I'm going to be doing some research on that, but that's, for another video. But tomorrow, like, the most pressing thing is going to be that public hearing. And so, that's where, if you guys can do it online or call in, or if you can be there in person, that would really be huge. So that's about all I got. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for your support, and we will keep you posted, and I will let you know what we figure out, and hopefully we get some good news out of this whole thing. That meeting at 7:30 tomorrow morning is going to say a lot in what they're going to do. And if we can get some sort of resolution at 7:30, everything else is going to be gravy. So it's just, we got to get through that first meeting. And I don't want to broadcast it too much because I don't want to jinx it, but that's kind of where I'm at. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Thank you for being here. Thanks for your belief in me, and thanks for your help. So we will talk to you later. Bye.